dating. You can't go with like ladies and gentlemen. Like
No,
that's...
you can't just be like, hey, we're just introduce ourselves. Be like, hey, we're the Jaded Cynics right now.
Hi, everybody.
No, that is so Jean Gomeshi right there.
Right there?
Yes.
That's a little bit too close to the nose.
Hey there. Like,
hi there.
Hi there, Canada.
Hey there, Canada. I've done some unforgivable things.
This cannot go. Cannot post this.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of digging it right now, actually. Hey, everybody. This is the Dating Don't. We are... Yeah, see? Right? Like, what do you want from me?
Why can't you just be like, hey, welcome to... I don't know. You're sounding too radio. This sounds like very... I don't know. Maybe that's how you're supposed to do it. Maybe you're supposed to just introduce a podcast sounding cheesy.
Kind of? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how to not sound cheesy.
I've never done this, so what the fuck do I know?
Do you want to introduce it?
I don't know what to say, because you didn't like what I had to say, so...
I like what you had to say. You can do it.
Why don't you just say it then?
Say what?
Hey, we're the Jaded Cynics. I'm Isadora.
Oh, hey, I'm Tristan.
There we go. We just introduced ourselves.
Welcome to the Dating Don't.
Welcome to our first podcast.
Podcast about trying to break love using science. You're giving me a look right now. Why are you
breaking?
giving me a look?
I don't know. I thought we already discussed that this is not breaking love.
Well, what is this then? What do you think this is? What do you consider our horrible creative writing / art installation / bullshit blog / science project is then?
That's what I would prefer it to be, just that we're not trying to break love.
Okay.
I want to maintain some sort of dignity here by pretending it's not about love.
I don't think we're allowed to have dignity at a certain point during this project.
Have we already forfeit that?
We might have. I don't know. We're answering some pretty weird questions, and then we're willingly giving that out to the internet, the slavering public as a whole, our barest, deepest secrets. So I don't know if we're allowed to come out of this with a sense of composure.
Oh, maybe I'll just continue to live in denial.
Okay. You know what? As someone who's done that for a certain number of years, I can completely understand that.
It's working pretty well.
So hi again, everybody. I'm Tristan.
I'm Isadora.
And we are the Dating Don't. We are a podcast about trying to, I don't know, create intimacy in a 45-minute podcast. We're doing something stupid because we read it on the internet. That's the best way of putting it.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
We don't really know what we're doing or why we're doing it. We're just doing it because it's fun or not fun.
Or horrible.
Or horrible or novel. But it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting.
As someone who has workshopped this idea around with a number of friends now, I feel like there is something here. I think it's an interesting idea, trying to take something that everyone considers so important these days. The idea of dating is kind of, for us, we are young 20-something shithead millennials. That,
agreed.
If we're not worried about what's on the television, we're trying to find someone to date. I think this is something kind of novel and new. People aren't going out on first dates and divulging their most intimate, horrible secrets in a 45-minute span. Probably not. I don't do that. I don't know if you do that. See,
so that's what I find so interesting about this experiment, and at least talking about it with you, is because I am someone who, to me, these questions are not as perhaps deep as, I think that they could be, or as deep as I don't know. I'm one of those overshares, or I'm someone who I hate small talk. For me, talking about when you last went to the zoo, which is actually one of the small talk questions, I think, from the original study, which we're not doing.
Can you discuss that with me for a second? There was a small talk to this. I don't want to... I don't know what that's even...
Did you not read the study?
I read the study twice.
Okay.
I might have skimmed it the second time.
Yeah, they first did... they ran the study with just a small talk section first, and it was basically
Okay, you say they. Who are they? Who is this? Who did this study?
Dr. Arthur Aaron, originally did this study, I think in the 80s, and...
Got a bunch of college kids together.
Yeah, they ran it a couple times.
Put them all together in 2 by 2, and they said, you're going to make friends today. You're going to make best friends for life. Now stare at each other in the eyes.
Yeah, before they did that, they made everyone fill out questionnaires. I think they ran the Myers-Briggs test with them. They had them answer a bunch of questions about, do you smoke? What are your thoughts about, this terrible topic?
There's ideal matching right there. See,
yeah.
Now that's why it was science. That sounds like science. We're doing the other thing.
But it's not technically the other thing, because if you have an OkCupid profile, or if I have an OkCupid profile, and I start answering questions about whether or not I like smoking, how I feel about abortion, this, that, and the other thing, and then OkCupid is taking those questions and it's matching us, it's ranking us high. Effectively, that's what they did before they matched people together. And so they broke them up into a few groups. They had a set of couples that were ideally matched, like people that would be ranking like, hey, we both love smoking, so they put those two people together. And then they also had a group of
I like the idea of people dating solely based on their mutual attraction of smoking.
Absolutely.
Oh, you smoke? Shit, I smoke too. Let's bang it out.
Yeah, let's date and get married.
Let's have smoker babies.
Yeah, so they
Tiny
did
emaciated smoker babies.
They did it a couple times with couples that they either have, like, that they paired specifically because they thought that they were going to like each other, and with couples that they
would not like each other.
They thought didn't, and then they introduced, like, they told people that they thought they would like each other, and then they told one group that they didn't, and they actually didn't find a significant difference in closeness between, like, the two groups. Like, it didn't really matter as much.
You can be friends with anybody.
Yes, basically.
Kids.
For 45 minutes in a lab, you can feel close to someone who is, like, bomb-dropping emotions on you, basically, was the intent of the study.
Which is super interesting. And I think you and I have discussed one of the potentially worrisome ideas about this is the fact that, like, it's kind of almost like the hot coals effect. It's where you're doing this, and it's like a weird, emotionally evocative moment, and I'm sure this dumbass idea we have of putting microphones in front of each other is only going to make that even better. But it's one of those things where I can't imagine you're going to have, like, a lasting emotional feeling from this, like, 2 weeks later. That's part of my experiment for this, is I kind of want to see if I meet someone and I hear about their familial relations, and then, like, 2 weeks later, I still want to talk to them. Like, if like if the runner's high of this conversation has gone off and I still care. Yeah,
I agree. I definitely think the introduction or having these microphones here are definitely going to kill.
Microphones are totally intimate. What are you talking about?
Given that I can't see your face, I definitely think
you can kind of see. I can see at least the top half of your face over the pop screen.
This is true. I can see your eyes.
My eyes are the window to my soul.
The windows to the soul. Apparently, the only thing that matters aside from these questions are the windows to your soul. But I definitely think the microphones are going to pose a bit of a problem. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, though, because, like, I don't know. I've already sort of started talking to people that I might be going on these dates with. And so there is some sort of, like...
exciting.
Basic, whatever. There's still some sort of, like...
How many cute boys have you found?
So many cute boys. I'm just batting them off with sticks. Fuck you.
That's okay. I've yet to really get my side rolling. Well, it's because it's easier for girls. Okay.
It is. It's so much easier.
I'm gonna do that thing. I'm gonna do that, like, horrible 90s joke that it's so much easier for girls to find guys than it is for guys to find girls. I actually have to, like, actively pursue people. How hard was it for you to, like, have people start, like, initiating conversation with you on your OkCupid profile when you started saying, which one of y'all guys wants to do a survey with me?
You know what? It's weird because, like, my OkCupid profile has now been up for, like, maybe 3 days, and I think I've gotten over 300 stars on it.
Holy fuck.
I know, it's insane. Like, I don't understand but I do, because I actually have sat next to guys that have been on Tinder, and they're literally just, like, I can't even see their thumbs anymore. They're swiping right so fast. I might have done that
You
before.
might have done that. I can't confirm nor deny that I've ever done that, but you know what? I can understand the idea. It's not like... Okay, I've done that in the past. The reason I did that in the past is more just because, like, I think I'd given up on Tinder in the traditional sense. Because you go through a honeymoon phase with it, where you're like, oh, she's cute and she's got kind of like a quippy profile. Like, sometimes something happens, sometimes it's not a match, and you're like, all right, fine. I didn't like her anyways. And you kind of just keep going. And eventually, really, all it came down to me was just like, I've only had horrible dates and occasional one-night stands. I'm just going to keep fucking swiping right and just see what falls into the net. Let's just keep going. You've been swiping for a half hour. Let's double it. Let's just keep going. Let's just see what happens here. What's the worst that could happen?
I've now done, like, 2 separate stints, I guess, on Tinder, both very, like, brief. And my first stint, I was definitely saying okay to more people than I think that I was like, sure, he seems, like, kind of cute and, really interesting little, like, quippy whatever. And then they'd be like, hey, let's go out. And I was like, oh, but I know that I know that I wouldn't find them attractive enough or interesting, and I can't say that on. Can I say that?
You're attractive enough to talk to over a device, but I can't get coffee with you.
Sorry, let me clarify. There'd be people
You've been plenty clear.
There'd be people that I would swipe right with just to see whether or not they would swipe right on me, and that very, very curious, but not curious enough that I would actually be interested to go on a date. And then I realized during my second time around, I'm like, this is a silly way to go about it, because who cares if you have 160 matches with people that you
have no
interest in actually, like, meeting up with. So I ended up making my profile like more off-putting than it was, and being 1,000 times more selective.
Did you, okay, like, I'm enjoying this tangent.
Yeah.
Even after you did that, did you still get like a barrage of dudes just kind of saying you want some fuck, or like was it a bit more selective after that?
So, okay, my Tinder experience, I actually think, has been very different. And so my Tinder experience is way different than my OkCupid experience, because they're completely different platforms.
OkCupid has just been enemy at the gates. It's just like the orcs are crawling over the top of the parapet.
See,
awesome.
What I like about Tinder is that I accept what comes towards me. Like, yes, so I'm only getting people that I want, basically. Oh, not all of the ones that I want, but whereas OkCupid is just sort of everyone has their ability
doors open, boys.
Yeah, doors are open. Everyone has their free access to me. Yeah, so I think that I had a bit of a different experience on Tinder, probably definitely for most men and for some women as well, because I really made sure that my profile was like about as off-putting as I could possibly make it.
As inhospitable as possible?
Yeah, very prickly, very sarcastic, used big words, had a longer kind of whatever. So I think that really, I mean, a few of the like, hey lady, like let's fuck right now, like those came in. Those, you can't keep them all out.
The you want some fuckers? Yeah,
pretty much. But it definitely sort of like the people that identified with it or were in line with it were people that I was okay to meet. And so like I've actually gone on like a number of really awesome first dates and have met some really nice people, and they haven't been disastrous. Nothing really has come out of them, but
it's interesting. I think you might be one of the few people I've talked to who use Tinder and actually have sort of that response. I guess maybe it's just like I haven't been asking enough people. Like I don't talk to a ton of people about like what your Tinder experience is like. But like usually what you always hear and you always see is guys saying like it's a get laid app, and girls saying it is a horrible font of the true horrifying id of humanity. It is an example into the dark soul that humanity has, and I wish it would go away. So yeah. I'm kind of happy that this is like your response to this, but your OkCupid experiences have been a bit more awesome, right?
They've been, yes. I mean, because you can't like you can't.
You can't self-select?
You can't self-select. With Tinder, like, there are doors and barriers, and, like, I get to say who comes in. I mean, not all of my choices, come back, but with OkCupid, it's like, I feel like I am at everyone has free access. So...
Phrasing.
I get a lot more... people that I'm not necessarily interested in talking to, and they say things. They say things.
No, I understand. Like, I think the thing with Tinder is, like you were saying, you've totally like selected around yourself. You've kind of made it like a good example of your profile, so people are more interested in swiping to you, and with the self-selection. When I was doing Tinder for the first couple of months, I had that total honeymoon effect, like I was saying, where it was just, I'm going to read your profile, I'm going to look at the pictures, see if there's any sort of attraction, I'm going to go with it from there, and then like after a while, you just kind of lose it, you go on bad dates, you stop giving a shit, you just end up swiping right on literally every single person that you see, just to see what happens, and then you just kind of say fuck it for a while.
Yeah.
Like there was about a week and a half or so where I was just like, I'm going to only be for certain people between the ages of 40 and 50, and I'm just going to see what happens. I'm a young cub, looking for my cougar to see what happens, and that was a fun week. I kind of enjoyed that.
I can't believe you did that.
I I didn't go on any dates from that, but like that was kind of fun. I did end up going on a couple of dates with women in their 30s, which was like not something I initially expected doing. It was kind of fun. Like there was nothing wrong with like, I don't know, meeting someone a number of years older than me. Not gonna say my age on this,
Although that being said, with the whole OkCupid thing, I also think that as a, I don't know, disclaimer or whatever, is that I have been kind of advertising that I'm looking for people to do this fucked up experiment with on my OkCupid profile. So again, I actually think that has kind of kept some people away who maybe would want to message me but don't want to be like roped into this thing, so that haven't. I mean, my profile has been up for like 3 days. It's been starred like 300 times, which I think, man, that's ridiculous.
Like the thing I want to ask with this is, are you getting more crazies, you think, because you're kind of like touting this idea, or are you getting less crazies?
Like I think I'm getting less crazies. I think that I'm getting less messages and less crazies. Most people, when they message me, I've been like, hey, how's your experiment going? I'll respond, and then they'll be like, hey, if you're still looking for people. It's been a really interesting sort of door opener for some people.
Okay.
But I think definitely the people who would maybe, I think it's like, it's a serious weird level. Like I'm not just some I'm not just like, oh, I don't know, this sounds gross saying this, but like another girl on OkCupid that they can just be like, hey, are you into this dirty thing?
Are you free for 3 hours? Do you have rope?
Yeah, basically.
Are you pro or con ball gags? Let's be honest. Do you still, even with your sort of experimental profile,
Yep.
Are you still getting people who are just like, yo, bang?
I've had like 2.
Really?
Yeah. It hasn't been high. I don't know. Maybe I'm like this weird anomaly.
The question I always want to ask with this, because like few of my female friends ever really like go into the horrible details. Do people just say "yo bang"? How do these wonderful, poetic 21st century, soft-souled individuals? How do they come about and propose their propositions?
So one I got the other day, which was like a little bit, one of my like 2, he was like, hey, how's it going? Do you like bi guys?
Oh no. Oh man.
I mean, it's just kind of like there's no. You know, it's
like I have friends who are bi, if that's what you mean, but something tells me that's not what you mean. I don't think that's what you're asking for at all.
I have to wonder whether it's an interesting tactic, and you're obviously not the. I mean, I hope you're not the one to ask as to whether this sort of tactic works. I am assuming that you're not, but I have to wonder whether this is actually something that like works for men, or whether it's just kind of fail safe. No, it's not ever possibly gonna work, so I won't feel bad being rejected, and my god, if it does, then I'm having 3 hours of anal bead sex. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not the person. I'm not one of the incorrigible mob that just yells sex please to every single person I see on my online dating profile.
That's very appreciated.
I have my own very interesting strategy that I've told you about.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to like divulge my secrets onto the internet. But it is a great and successful strategy.
No, it's a good one.
Maybe I'll let you guys all know at the end of this entire podcast debacle. We had a really interesting topic that we were going on about like 10-15 minutes ago that we kind of like sidetracked into some horrible side paths with. But you were discussing the idea of what it is you discuss on your first date.
Right.
And you were saying you're a sharer, you're a sharing type.
I mean, I'm a sharer, and I also, I'm a total misanthrope, so I hate people, but I also really like people. I mean, like, I will overshare, but I'm very curious. I hate small talk. And to me, you know, having patter about the weather and the local sports team, like, sure, that's interesting, but, like, I don't care. I want to care. I care about what happened to you on that sad field trip, or why you, I want to know why you are the way. That's all. No.
Sad field trip?
Don't.
That was too close to home. That was a real thing. I'm gonna be a good sport about this, and when we turn the microphones off,
well,
I'm gonna ask you about your sad field trip.
What am I trying to say? I don't know what I'm trying to say. I am trying to say, on first dates, I care about what makes you you. I care about what you believe in, because to me, those are the maker or breakers of what we are ostensibly trying to build on this first date. So I just want to get right into it. Like, I don't care about the small talk patter as much.
And my rule for first dates as a general whole is I will only talk about superhero movies. That's my rule. It's just nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Maybe like we can get into some of like the secondary stuff, but usually it revolves entirely around the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And see, to me, that's like a good like second date. But I mean, I'm not gonna come back after the second date if all we talk about is.
Could you imagine if a guy actually did that? That would be awesome.
No, you have no idea. No, you think.
Could you imagine if a girl actually, like, I would be so into it if a girl just came down and was like, you know what this date is about? This date is about Aquaman and how much he sucks. Like, just for like an hour and a half.
I mean, the thing is, though,
that would be a great coffee.
You think that I'm kidding, but one of my friends just went on a date with a guy who just expressly talked about comic books the entire time and was like really mean to her. But that was like the whole date was just like him talking about like, yeah, so like you joke, but this is a real thing that's happening.
To be a fly on that wall, you know. I hear stories from female friends about some of these awful dates they go on, and I sometimes I can't actually believe they exist. Like these people actually exist.
Yeah, same.
Good thing we're doing this instead,
yeah,
right?
Good thing we're doing this instead.
We have these 36 questions, and we're gonna answer them and make other people answer them, and then we're gonna find our fall in love, and we're gonna have
white picket fences. But I'm sort of curious because like I think it's interesting though, because like when you and I were first talking about this experiment, I was shocked to find out that you thought that these questions were gonna be some like crazy way of a first date, because I'm like, these questions are like peanuts in comparison to what I like to talk about. So
to be fair, when I cold called you and made you sit down in a coffee shop and was just like, how's your life going? I don't care. Here's my idea for a project. I hadn't actually read all of the questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I read that like insufferable article basically saying, I found my boyfriend and we fell in love forever and we're going to have babies because we stood on a bridge and asked each other questions and then stared lovingly into each other's eyes. And I just sat there reading this and being just like, bullshit. So my idea came from there. And then after we talked, I actually did my due diligence and read these questions.
All right, fair enough.
To be fair, I still think a lot of these are things you would not talk on a first date. I think some of these are pretty...
Well, okay, yes. I mean, but I guess my thing is like the thing that I look for on a first date, or not necessarily even just on a first date, but or for a date in general, is for the flow of conversation to head down these sorts of paths. Not necessarily like, I don't know, whatever, what is your most terrible memory kind of thing. I mean, that's a little bit...
That's a second date thing.
That's at least a second date.
That's after you've slept with someone and you can say, this one right now. This is it. This is the moment. Okay, great segue. So, since we haven't actually had any of these dates yet, we're still sort of in the initial stages of setting up our website, doing the planning, recording podcasts in front of scary microphones. We thought a good way to cap this first episode off is we have both in front of us the list of these 36 horrible questions, and we decided that I wanted to talk about some of these questions in a bit more detail, not actually answering them because, you gotta pay for that. You gotta go and wait and listen to the next episodes. I want to do a top six, a Letterman top six here. Each one of us going from descending order, like sixth most interesting question, most terrifying question, just something that like elicits an emotional response. Going from like 6 to 1, each one of us kind of batting one off back and forth and talking about it a little bit. You have done this, right? You have like marked these on your page. You're giving me this like dead eye stare, like you're just like, what is he talking about?
I was waiting for you to like prompt me to do something else. Sorry, I just dropped the ball on that. I'm not very good at this whole interviewing podcast thing. I feel like I'm failing.
You're a rousing success.
Yes, thank you.
Because of that, because you gave me the fish stare for a second, I'm gonna make you go first. Isadora.
Yes, Tristan.
Number 6.
Okay, so 6 for me is number 36, the very last question. Share a personal problem and ask your partner's advice on how he or she might handle it. Also ask your partner to reflect back to you how you seem to be feeling about the problem you have chosen. This one presents a bit of an issue for me because I don't really have a personal problem at the moment.
You're perfect. You have no issues in your life?
I have one that I'm sort of in the middle of... handling it, so I think I might just bring that situation up and see how they'll respond to it.
Oh man, don't answer this, but is it boy troubles? Are you going to bring up boy troubles with a boy that you're talking about dating stuff with? Because it's like, I love that idea. I love that whole like rising action.
No, I
of
think
dating
that
discussion.
would be very...
And you're throwing it off at the last question too. It's like, I'm really having problems with my boyfriend. Peace. See ya. It's been a fun time.
How would you handle this? No, it's something that actually happened a number of years ago that I'm like trying to I just deal with now, I guess. I also am like, I'm hesitant to talk about it because I guess, having this be recorded and be online, I don't really know whether or not it's going to be appropriate.
You're trying to remain anonymous?
Yeah, there's that aspect. Like, I know that we're supposed to be deep and honest and open and all this other shit on this podcast, but there is a sense of anonymity, not necessarily for my sake, but I think for the other individual involved, that I want to respect that. And so I think I might try and, like, talk around it if I bring it up.
Man, this doesn't sound funny at all. This sounds like deep and serious.
No, it's not funny. It's actually not funny. It's not a funny... Yeah, it's not funny.
Who would have thought a podcast about deeply emotional personal things wouldn't be innately funny? Fuck.
All right, what's your 6?
I did not think this one through. My number 6 is question number 25. Make 3 true we statements each. For instance, we are both in this room feeling ... And the reason why I picked this one as my number 6 is because it reminds me a lot of my high school, like, career and personal planning class. Like, you know how every, like, high school always had one of those classes that was about, like, organization and feelings? Yeah. This, like, having, like, teaching, like, how to do, like, I statements and stuff like that. I always hated that with such a fiery passion, and this just kind of sounds exactly like that. Like, mine is the opposite of yours. Mine is not some sort of, like, oh, I'm afraid to talk about this. Mine is just me saying, like, I always have hated this idea of discussing, like, 21st century, no-vu, we all feel feelings together kind of questions.
Feel those feelings.
Yeah, like, I know we all feel feelings. We don't need to sit here and say, like, we are both sitting here talking about...
Yeah, actually, I sort of agree with you that those statements kind of gross me out, too. And actually, that's good because, like, my number 5 is...
Nice segue.
Is number 8, which is name 3 things you and your partner appear to have in common. So I think, actually, those 2 questions are very...
They're kind of linked. They're somewhat co-similar.
They're almost the same. And, yeah, to me, it, like, grosses me out. But my whole thing is, A, it's gross because... I don't want to talk about, like, us For me, it's the assumption. It's more like that I don't like making an assumption about someone that we're both feeling this thing, because rejection, like, what if they're not feeling that? What if I've said something? Or what if I don't feel like we have anything in common and now I have to pull some sort of like gross we statement out of my ass?
We are both feeling happy to have met each other. No, we're not. Fuck. Okay. All right. Take 2.
Yeah. So that one kind of, I'm not too keen to answer that one because, yeah. What's your 5?
My number 5 is question number 6. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want? And this one is one of those like super difficult. I honestly don't know my answer, because either there's the actual answer, which makes me a narcissist, or there is the kind of reasonable answer, which makes you seem like not a handsome 90-year-old.
I'm just rereading this one. You should read it out. Yeah, did you read it out loud?
I did. If you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want?
Yeah, it's a tough one for me too, but I don't necessarily think it makes you like narcissistic, because you can talk about retaining your mind, but if you think about the fact that, like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't be talking about this now, because we're like, I don't want to answer the question now, but yeah,
we can talk around it a bit. Like, I'm not giving you my answer here.
I have nothing to say, because actually what I was going to say was basically just sort of like reasoning out the...
I think the biggest reason why I picked it is because I think it's just a shitty question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, some of these questions don't really elicit any deeper, darker feeling.
Yeah, like what is this exactly asking? Is this saying, like, do you want to be handsome for most of your life, or do you want to not be, like, mentally damaged for the last 20 years of your life?
Is it asking that, though?
Yeah, it's basically saying, like, do you want to, like, be, like, as smart as a 30-year-old until you die at 90, or as, like, handsome as a 30-year-old until you die at the age of 90? That's all it's asking. This is a brains or bronze scenario, and it's one of those really shitty, like, monkey's paw, genie wish questions that I think has no place in actual discussion.
See, it's funny because I think I read too much into it, and I was like, oh, I don't necessarily want the mind of a 30-year-old for the rest of my life. Not necessarily, like, the mental capacity of a 30-year-old, but I don't want to be thinking the same thoughts at 30, at 90. So, yeah,
this wasn't about mental cognition. This is just like, I'm still going to be kind of a shithead at 30. I don't want that my entire life.
That's what I was thinking about. I mean, as a lit major, I read things a lot, and sometimes I read too much into things, like, things that aren't there.
Yeah, these things happen more often than you think. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is similar to my number 5, and tell your partner what you like about them. Be very honest this time, saying things that you might not say to someone you've just met.
You are just so terrified at, like, eliciting any sort of, like, emotion at all.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I'm clearly the one who's more willing to be open and honest about things in my life. But yeah, I mean, you've definitely hit the nail on the head in the sense that I am totally great to talk about, you know, the shit that's happened in my life and how I feel about it. And I want to listen to whomever talk about, you know, the shit that's happened in their life and how they feel about it. But my having to then tell people how I feel about them, like, gross. Gross, don't want to do that. Nope, shut that down. You
don't like doing that? You can't say that?
I would rather, like, just stick a fork in my eye.
Please don't do that on the podcast.
What's your 4?
My number 4 is question 32. What, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? And I feel like this one I initially kind of picked because I was just like, I'm a sarcastic asshole, and to me, I think I can make a joke about anything. But then I realized, like, this is one of those, like, surprisingly deeply personal questions that could go in, like, a very weird direction. I don't know. I think, like, if someone came down and were just like, I think, like, fuck. Like, I
just
think, like, rape isn't funny whatsoever.
Like,
that's not, like, that's a don't touch. And that is a don't touch. Like, you don't joke about that. But it's just, if, like, that could turn into a conversation that, like, if I have to have with a person on a first date, would be absolutely stark, raving terrifying for me. I would freeze up and not know what to do.
It's funny though, because, like, these are, and this is why I sort of agree with the whole, like, we talk about these things, because if I'm on a date with someone who is just like, ha ha ha, I think rape jokes are hilarious, and perhaps I'm someone who doesn't, then it's like, I kind of want to know that right away, because that is going to have a huge impact on, like, how I feel towards you. I mean, so obviously we don't like to, you know, show the shitty side of ourselves, like, right away, but sometimes it's, like,
better to get it out
better
early.
That way.
True. I could definitely see that as well. Man, I'm terrified at like actually having to sit through some of these questions with other people. I've realized like the Pandora's box I've opened as we discuss this more and more.
Yeah, have you really? I think this is the first time it's like hitting you what you've actually gotten yourself into.
I don't think anything through. I don't actually like think about anything on a long-term repercussion scale. I feel like you kind of already knew this about me, but now it's becoming readily apparent to both of us.
Yes.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is it's number 11. Take 4 minutes and tell your partner your life story in as much detail as possible.
Really? That one seems like a relatively inoffensive one. That one seems like it's a good way. Like, isn't that exactly what you want to do on a first date? Is kind of like get as much about you as possible? Or is this the fact that 4 minutes is just not enough?
Well, I mean, it might be that 4 minutes is not enough.
To paint the picture that is Isadora Worthington III.
I think what I'm concerned about is that it's going to come across that I won't be positive sounding enough about it. There's been some not fun things. And so I think I'm just sort of worried it's just going to, by the end of my 4 minutes, it's going to be like an Eeyore or a storm cloud. And we won't want to go on. It's going
to be like sad puppy crying. It's like, I'm so sorry.
And that, yeah, I don't know, because sometimes so much of what we talk about frequently is not necessarily the happy times. It's sad that it is that, you know, happy feelings don't tend to stick with you as long as like sad things do. So yeah, I don't know. I'm like mentally.
That's part of the human condition, though, isn't it? Is the fact that the things that like the good things, the positive compliments, the happy things that have happened in our life, those are all too ephemeral. Those are absolutely fleeting. They last for like a second and then they're gone. But like the time someone cut you off, or that fight you got in high school, or when your girlfriend broke up with you, or when something horrible happened in your life, that's going to stick there forever. That's never going anywhere.
And it's going to fill up 4 minutes worth of life story.
When you think it's gone, you're going to turn around, it's going to be right there, waiting for you. Welcome to humanity.
All right, what's your 3?
My number 3, question number 35. Of all the people in your family, whose death would you find most disturbing, and why? That is a question that is just terrifying to answer for me for so many reasons, because I feel like if that question isn't terrifying for you, you're either in a very specific familial situation, or you got some deep dirt going on in your family. I don't necessarily want to have to sit there and figure out like which one of my parents I would be less sad about dying.
I think there's I guess it depends on how you look at the question, because I actually don't think this is necessarily like a choose which one.
This is not necessarily a Sophie's choice? Yeah. Because this kind of sounds like a Sophie's choice to me.
I think that there's something to be said with the word disturbing there, and it's kind of like, you know, depending on each relationship that you have. I don't think it's like a choose which one you're going to be the saddest about, because then that's like picking favorites with your family. I think that's kind of like what disturbing makes it be like, maybe you don't have a great if you have a sibling and you don't have a great relationship, or you don't have a great relationship with your dad or one of your other parents, that like if they drop dead, it'll be the most disturbing for you because you didn't have a chance to like reconcile that. It's not that you'll be the saddest about it, but that it will disturb you in some way the most. I guess I
can see that. The way like my first read off of it was more just like
pick your favorite parent.
Pick your favorite parent. Pick your favorite family member. Pick your least favorite family member, and then tell everyone else about it. What's your number 2?
Number 2 is number 18. What is your most terrible memory?
Fuck off. That's my number 2.
Yeah?
Actually.
Oh my god, maybe.
We're kindred spirits.
Yeah.
Like, look into my soul for a second. Look into the windows of my soul. We're the same person.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Okay, why is that your most number 2 question?
Because I'll have to pick.
Jesus. Woof. Goodness gracious,
why is it yours? I mean, this is what happens. Like, I know this is already just too much information. But yeah, like that's
open and honest, but
that's what this question is. So like, why is it your hardest? Because you don't have any?
No, I got plenty. I got a full deck in this hand. But it's more that I always find it very hard to talk about something like that. The most horrible moments in my life have either been things that have been like very hard to talk about, things that like still affect me to this day, or horrible things that I've done and would rather no one ever know about me. Like it's only bad things, and that either kind of like colors me as a horrible person, or it brings up things that like I don't like. It would be so, and I guess that's the point of this, is to bring that up on a first date and do that. But like those are things that like I don't know if I would bring that up on a 10th date, let alone a first date. Like all joking, haha, funnies aside, like that's a fucked up, difficult question to answer.
That's I mean, that is a tough one, especially Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you categorize your, like, the terrible things that have happened to you, the terrible things that you've done to other people, the terrible things that just, you know, that someone else has done to you. Like, there are the very many different categories about, like, terrible memories. And I guess, I mean, again, it's like, but it's picking one. So it's sort of like, is the terrible thing that you've maybe done to someone that's your most terrible memory in that category, is it as on par with, like, a terrible thing that's happened to you just based on life circumstances? I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be all awful.
Just pick your own death. You get to pick how you die right now. That's what this questionnaire is.
All right, what's your number one?
You get to go first. What's your number one?
Okay, my number one is actually the first question. Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest?
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with that?
Because I've read
Does
these
this make you sad too? What horrible childhood trauma do you have from inviting people over as dinner guests?
No, it's because I'm a very indecisive person who hates choosing, like, top 3 favorite shit. Like, I've been thinking about this question literally since you brought up this, this whole shenanigans that we're getting into, and I still don't have a fucking answer. I still don't know who I would bring to dinner. I have a hard time choosing something that isn't totally, like...
First thing that comes to your head, right now, who would you invite to dinner? Go. Don't even think about it. Just say, who would you want to dinner right now? Famous person. Go. Go.
No, but, like, this is the problem.
You're thinking too much. That's the problem. That's your problem, is you're thinking too much. Go.
Well, and I don't want to answer the question right now, but...
Well, it's probably going to change. Like, I don't think it's going to be the same time every time we answer that ourselves in these things. Like, I don't think our answers are going to be the exact stock same every single time anyways, so... Like, that one, that's such a banal answer. Who's coming to dinner?
Maybe...
Kurt Vonnegut. Done. There you go. That's the answer.
There we go. Kurt Vonnegut's coming for dinner.
He would be pretty awesome at dinner, I think.
He would be. See, I haven't even thought about that.
He would tell, like, funny stories, and we'd go, like, smoke a pipe out on the patio. And he just give me some, like, paternal life advice.
See, like, you've really, you know this shit. And I also worry that, like...
I put no thought into that. That was the first name that came to my mind.
I don't think quickly about these things. I don't have quick thoughts. I'm not quick.
You have measured thoughts.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your number one?
My number one is question number 13. If a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would you want to know?
That is a tough one.
That's a scary one.
Because your mind's going to go into some perverse, like...
No, like, all right, like, I appreciate the fact that you thought I was going to try to make some sort of quip about this. Like, I like that. I'm glad I'm putting off that air. Knowing about the future is a horrible Pandora's box.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Because, like, it's like, if someone ever asks you, like, do you want to know the day you die? The only answer is fuck no, because I don't want to know that. If, like, someone's asking you, like, if you want to know the truth about, like, your life and the things you've done... what's the Jimmy Stewart, like, it could be like a Christmas movie. What's the Jimmy Stewart Christmas movie?
It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, that could be like a Wonderful Life moment where it's just like, wow, maybe I have butterfly effect, saved so many people. Or it could just be like, no, you've just kind of done a lot of bad.
Yeah,
and then, like,
I wouldn't
nothing really
know.
matters. Or you could find out more about yourself and you could just have this crystal ball tell you, like, yo, dog, I don't know how to tell this to you, but you're not a good human being.
I actually think, not that I'm answering it now, but my answer might be that I just wouldn't want to know.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't. Like, I just wouldn't want to know.
Is the answer to break the crystal ball and run? Is that a possibility?
But I think
I choose my own fate.
I also, what I like about these questions too is that you can rephrase them, or like because I mean, I think that's the very crux of these questions. It's not necessarily like, you know, what are your 3 dinner guests, and then you choose 3. Like, how you answer things says a lot about you, and the choices that, I mean, it's not necessarily the choices that you make, it's also how you go about those choices and the thought that you put into them. That's where all of this like really,
it's in a lot of ways it's maybe less the actual answers themselves and more about that moment of opening yourself up and letting someone else hear that answer, putting that out there, and someone else receiving it and having sort of that, like, co-spiritual moment. I think that's probably more what this is. Don't you give me that look.
Okay, I was expressly told that the phrase exploration of the human condition was not allowed to be uttered and or written anywhere during this, and you just said the word, what was it, co-spiritual? Co-spiritual? Like, fuck you.
This is like,
that
you know,
was 1,000 times worse.
This really is like an exploration of the human condition.
It really is. I mean, it really is, folks. It really is. But no, I think... It
really is just a narcissistic attempt by 2 shithead 20-something millennials to talk about love in a weird way.
It's a creative writing multimedia project, I thought.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
For science.
For science!
Science! Are we done here? Are we good?
I think I'm tired.
I think we're good.
And I'm sweaty, and this has been grosser than I thought it would be.
This has been illuminating. I'm Tristan.
I'm Isadora.
This is episode 1 of The Dating Don't. We are available on iTunes and a bunch of other podcast directories. You can go find our website, thedatingdon't.com. You got some questions, send them to us, datingdon't@gmail.com. Come at us with your questions. Ask us about dating things. We'll answer them. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll answer your questions.
We won't give you good advice.
No.
Mine will mostly be involving superheroes, like almost entirely. But like ask away anyways. It'll be only beneficial.
We're all winners here, folks.
So I think we should have probably a first dating podcast sometime about maybe a week after this, maybe 2 weeks. Give me some slack, because I don't know when this episode is going up.
We have no idea what we're doing.
I have every idea what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay. We'll figure it out, and you know what? If you guys want to hop on the bus and come along with us, that'd be great too. See you guys on the next episode of The Dating Don't.
Bye.
Bye.
Jaded Cynic signing off.